Hi, and welcome back to the Pomegranate Girl, a knitting and sewing podcast. My name is Annie, and it's been a long time. So I last filmed, I think, maybe midway through April, and things have just been very busy, so I haven't had the chance to podcast, but I am back today. It's the beginning of June, and yeah, I'm here to talk about my finished objects, what I've been working on knitting wise. I am going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to, and also some little life updates, little life chats. and also what I've been sewing on and what I have been reading. So if that sounds good to you, then let's crack on. So the first finished object, I have got quite a few, and the first one is something that I don't have with me because it was a gift, and this is how I know it's been such a long time since I've podcasted, because I knit these for my mum for her birthday, which was mid-April, and I think I had nearly finished them when I last filmed. So I made her the Songbird Mittens by Heusser, which I will insert a photo of here or here, and it's a lovely colour work knitting pattern for a pair of mittens, and they are beautiful. I think so anyway. The pattern is really lovely, and they are knit out of Jamieson and Smith. Oh no, they're Jamiesons, not Jamieson and Smith. Jamieson's Spindrift 4-ply, which is a Shetland, 100% Shetland wool yarn. You probably all know of it. It's very traditional for Shetland and Fair Isle colourwork, and I think the recommended yarn for this pattern was a Madeleine Tosh sock yarn, which is a superwash merino nylon. I don't tend to knit with that kind of yarn very often, and I also really love the qualities of Shetland wool. I think it's really warm but also very lightweight. It's amazing for colourwork because it's super sticky and toothy. So I used Jamiesons and Spindrift in Midnight and in Natural, and I'll leave my Ravelry project page down below. But if you cannot access Ravelry, then please just drop me a comment, drop me a message on Instagram if you want further details. But everything I talk about today will have a link below. But if you need any clarification, or as I said, if you can't access Ravelry, drop me a message. So yeah, I finished these. I really enjoyed working on them. They did get, I'm one of these people that I get the second sock and second mitten syndrome, but they were a really there was a difference because you're obviously knitting kind of a picture, so they are mirrored, so the left mitten chart is slightly different to the right mitten. And so that was really lovely, and I just really enjoyed working on them, and I think my mum likes them. Obviously it wasn't the best time of year to give them to her because it doesn't even get that cold. We live in the southwest of England. It never gets freezing. It hasn't snowed significantly for at least a few years now, which is the joys of the climate crisis. And just living in a slightly more temperate part of the UK, so she probably won't get to wear them until later this year, but that is quite alright with me, and I hope that she likes them. Then the next finished object I've got a lot, so I'm trying to get through them, is another thing that made me realise how long it had been since I filmed, and it is the scarf number 1, which I have right here, by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and it's just a little kind of kerchief, and I would wear it a bit like this, obviously probably not with this t-shirt, but it's quite long and drapey, and I knit this out of Sandnes Garn Alpakka silk, which I bought from one of my local yarn shops called No Frills Knitting, which is in Bedminster in Bristol, which is where I am based. And it's run by the lovely Meg, and I picked this up maybe last year, or the beginning of this year, quite a while ago. I'll leave the colour linked below because it's, yeah, it's a number, it's not like a name. The colour isn't a name, which would be easier to remember. And this comes in 2 sizes, so I knit the larger size, and what I really like about it is that it's quite long. Can't even fit it all in the frame, so you could kind of wrap it around twice, and it's got this garter stitch panel, and then you do these eyelets, and then you just kind of repeat, but you are doing increases at the end and on the middle, in kind of different kind of sets of repeats, so hence that's what kind of creates this really long triangle shape where your ends are really long, and it kind of, yeah, almost isn't actually that triangular. It's not like a really traditional triangular shawl where this isn't actually that long, this like point. And yeah, the yarn was really nice to work with. It was a bit splitty, and because it's alpaca and silk, it's like this really beautiful drape. I mostly chose this yarn because the colour is lovely. It's like this beautiful kind of golden brown mustard colour. It's a bit more yellow in real life, but it's just, yeah, really nice. It goes with quite a lot of my wardrobe. I haven't worn it in a while because it's been a bit too warm here, but I really did enjoy wearing it, and it's just one of those things that I will get a lot of use out of, I think, in the colder months. And it was just a nice kind of thing to knit. It was a nice, like, mindless but also engaging knit, and I just really enjoyed it. I to be honest, I knitted it quite a few months ago, so I can't really remember much else. I'd probably knit it again. It took me a bit longer than I'd expected, just because I was knitting on quite a few other things, but I would knit the pattern again. I definitely recommend it. The next finished object is one that I have been working on for quite a few months, and it is my Soiree jumper. If you follow me on Instagram, which is the.pomegranate.girl, it's always linked down below. Yeah, if you follow me on there, you'll have seen this already, but this is my Soiree jumper by Emily Foden from her book Knits About Winter, and I'm going to hold it up, but you won't be able to see it that well, so I will include some photos of me wearing it. But it is this lovely jumper. It's quite long. I did lengthen it, and you've got beautiful cables up the side, and then this really nice like honeycomb or mock honeycomb cable section, and there is some moss stitch as well, and then it has a picked up collar which is quite wide. It's definitely maybe not as wide as a boat neck, but it is so like a bit of a wider collar than I'm used to, and the ends are just kind of a rolled hem, would you call that a curling up hem, which you kind of minimise the impact of the curling by doing some cables along the bottom. So as you can see, it's pretty big. I knit the size 4, which gives me about 30 to 35 centimetres of positive ease, which is a lot more than I would usually go for, but I actually really like how oversized this is. And I also added 2 extra repeats to the body, so you knit this bottom up, and I just added 2 extra repeats, but because my row gauge was off, I think the row gauge in the pattern is 30 rows to 10 centimetres, and mine was about 26 or 25 rows. That actually equated to 3 extra repeats, so it is significantly longer than in the pattern. The pattern is like, it's the original like kind of pattern is quite cropped, and I just wanted something super cozy and a bit longer, so I added some length, and yeah, I really enjoyed this project. I think Emily Foden is she has just such beautiful designs. I love the Knits About Winter book. I've knit a few different projects from it. I've actually got a project later in this episode as one of my works of progress. And I have knit the Persephone mittens from this book, and yeah, I would knit everything in the book. It's beautiful. I don't know how much else I have to say about this. It was my first time doing a 3 needle bind off for the shoulders. So as you can see, this is where you knit in the round, bottom up, until you get to the front and back, and then you separate and you knit the back, and then you knit the front, and it has this shaping around the collar, and then your back stitches are you keep them on hold, and you can either graft them together, which is what Emily suggests in the pattern, with Kitchener stitch, or I did a 3 needle bind off just because I had read that it was slightly more stable, and this is a really drapey fabric, and also I'd never done it before, so I wanted to try something new, and I really liked it. I thought it was going to be really complicated for some reason, but it was so simple, and so yeah, would definitely use it again. And then you just pick up around the armholes and do the sleeves. As you can see, my sleeves are a bit short, which I don't mind. I often knit my sleeves to be like bracelet length, but I think at some point I might reknit them to be a little bit longer, because they kind of land like maybe here, and I would rather they land like here at my wrist. And yeah, the yarn is a combination of the John Arbon Yarnadelic, which is 100% Falklands Corriedale yarn, in the shade Pink Moon. I think it's like a heavy 4-ply / sport weight yarn. And then I held it together with the Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in Rose Clay. It'll be down below. Something like that. And they kind of create this really beautiful, the mohair is obviously the lighter colour, and it's like this really gorgeous kind of mild appearance. I love this colour. It's like this rosy pinky brown colour. It's one of my favourite colours. I just love it. I think it's quite similar to my skin tone, but to be honest I don't really care. I wear it anyway, and yeah, this jumper is just so cozy and so warm and so soft, and yeah, it's very drapey, which is quite different for me. I usually wear quite structured knits, but yeah, because of like the Corriedale and the mohair kind of together, it's just like this, and the gauge is quite loose, so it's quite a loose gauge. It just creates this like beautiful soft drapey fabric, which I really like. And yeah, I would really recommend this pattern. Sizing wise, I don't think it's amazing, but it's not the worst I've seen. I think there are maybe 6 or 7 sizes. Let me check. I've got the book. This is the book it's from, and it's about winter, which is published by Pom Pom. Let's see. Yeah, so there are 7 sizes, and the maximum finished bust circumference is 170 centimeters, and the recommended ease is 30 to 40 centimeters. So realistically, that's 130. The max is 130 centimeters at a minimum. So it's not amazing. But you could, I know a lot of people have knitted it with less ease, because yeah, the ease is quite a lot. But yeah, it's a beautiful book, and I'd really recommend having a look at the patterns if you haven't already heard of it. But it's a few years old now, so I'm sure you've all heard of it. And yeah, I would definitely knit this again. I'd probably knit it a bit more cropped and maybe with less ease. If I was going to knit it again, just for have something that was like a bit of a different style. But I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy it's done. It was on my Make 9 2022 list, so that was really nice to get that ticked off. And also, I've had the yarn for over a year. I got it for my birthday in 2021 from my parents. That was like my birthday gift from them, which was very kind and generous of them. So it felt really nice to be able to use it and to show them that I actually do use the yarn that they buy me. Yeah, I don't think I have got much else to say about any mods. The only other thing is that I only decreased the sleeves to 48 stitches, and I think I should have decreased to 44 stitches, but I just thought 48 was like the perfect amount for me. Still a bit tight, so I probably wouldn't decrease as much again if I was going to knit it again. And yeah, it was a lovely pattern, and I probably bored you all to death by talking about it so much. But yeah, now it's finished, it's off my needles. I've been wearing it quite a bit. It's a bit too warm now. Again, we're in June to wear it, but I have gotten a lot of wear out of it, and I definitely will when it gets cooler. And I have still been wearing it sometimes in the evenings if it's a bit chilly. My next finished object, I'm not even sure if I had cast on in my last episode, but had I cast them on? Or maybe I showed the yarn? Can't remember, but they are the Curio socks by Andrea Mowry, and I'm just going to pop them on my sock blockers so that I can show you properly. And these are, it's a pattern by Andrea Mowry, who is Dre Renee Knits. I'm sure you all know her. She's obviously very famous knitwear designer from the US. And this is one of her more recent sock patterns. It either came out this year or last year, and this is my pair. So these are knit out of Spincycle and Mondim, this sport weight Spincycle, which I can't remember what it's called. Is it Dyed in the Wool? One of them's called Dyed in the Wool, and I think one of them is called Dream State. I could be wrong, but it's the sport weight Spincycle yarn in the colourway Ghost Ranch, and then the dark green, which it's like a kind of striping, and you also use here on these like vertical stripes, and the cuff, heels and toes is a Mondim yarn by Retro. Is it Rose and Pomor? Yeah, Rose Pomor or Retro Soiree. I can't remember what her brand, the yarn company is, but I just know all the names of the bases. So Mondim is a non-superwash, no nylon sock yarn. It's 100% Portuguese wool. And I have used it before in my Loppy socks by Five Tails, which I have shown in previous episodes. But I haven't, that was only for a contrast colour. And also I think for the heels and toes, and it's actually hasn't, I don't have any holes in it. I know some people have struggled with Mondim, and they've felt that it's worn through really quickly. I haven't had any issues, but then I wear a lot of no nylon socks. I'm quite used to them. I don't know. I haven't had any issues with Mondim personally, but I probably wouldn't knit a pair of socks for anyone in my family with it, or like any of my friends, just because it's, I know some people have had issues, and I don't really want to give my family socks that might get holes in them really quickly. But I really like it, and I've got a lot of it in my stash because it's pretty affordable. I think it's around £10 a skein, so which is pretty good for a non-superwash no nylon sock yarn that is made with wool from Europe. So yeah, these are the medium women's size, and yeah, they're really nice. They were kind of like my mindful easy knitting. So, and you kind of create this pattern with like, the striping, and I won't go too much into it actually because it's a paid for pattern. The one thing, so I had never knit with Spincycle before. Spincycle is an American wool. It's 100% American wool, but it is superwash, which I don't think I knew to begin with. I knew when I bought it, but and like when I first heard of it, I didn't realise it was superwash. I tend to not knit with superwash wools just because, for myself, I do for other people and gift knits, because obviously some people don't like to hand wash things, and that's fine. But yeah, for myself, I don't tend to use superwash because it's just not really what I enjoy knitting with. But yeah, I really wanted to try Spincycle. I know they do have a few non-superwash bases, but yeah, for this pattern, it's used one of their superwash bases, which is fine. I don't mind using it occasionally, and it doesn't feel overly plasticky, which I feel some superwash yarns can, just for me. That's really kind of why I don't like them, and also like the process that superwash involves, or the superwash process. I don't love what the process does, but that's my personal preference. No judgment to anyone else that uses it, because we've all got to, you know, use what we enjoy, and that's the beauty of knitting, is that there is so much choice and everyone can use what they want to use. But yeah, it's a superwash yarn. What I didn't love about the Spincycle, and you can kind of see it here, is that the colour gradient, I think because it was on a smaller circumference, took a really long time to kind of develop. So you can see here that there is this whole chunk for maybe like 2 or 2.5 inches where it's just one colour, and I feel like the fade it just wasn't really what I was expecting. I thought the fade would be a lot quicker and a lot more kind of gratifying for me. But I still love these. I think they look really nice. Like, obviously they don't match, but I don't mind that doesn't bother me. But what I did do, so this was the first one that I knitted, and then on the second one I did actually kind of cut the yarn, because I was like, well, otherwise I'm not going to get all the colours in this skein, and I didn't want to knit really long socks. So I did actually just cut this colour and switch to something else, and again with the yellow I cut it because I just wanted to get all of the different colours, and I thought I wouldn't get that if I didn't cut it. I didn't on this one. This one I just kind of kept as is, so just didn't break the yarn at all. But I just, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I do have some little snippets of Spincycle, but I will use them in other projects, so that's fine. And I do have some left, but I would knit these socks again, definitely. Spincycle is a more pricier yarn. It's about £28 in the UK, which for one pair of socks is quite a lot of money for me, especially when you consider that you need to buy another skein, so that ends up being quite a lot of money for just one pair of socks, which is fine. I don't mind, because I'll get wear out of them and I'll really enjoy wearing them, but it's just not something I'm going to be able to do all the time. And there are so many yarn bases for socks that I want to try. But this was a gift from my aunt, the Spincycle, for my birthday earlier this year. It was very kind of her. She kind of asked me what I wanted, and I said, oh, I really appreciate some of this yarn. And so she went into our local yarn shop in Bath and bought some for me, which was very kind, so thank you. I won't say your name, but my aunt, if you're watching. And she also knits, so that was really lovely. And yeah, I'm just glad I finished them. I haven't actually worn them yet because I was saving them for the podcast, so now I can finally wear them, although it's a bit warm for wearing hand knit socks at the moment in Bristol. So yeah, those are all my finished objects. Let's get started on my works in progress. So I've got 4 works in progress that I'm working on pretty consistently. I'd say there's 2 that I'm working on a bit more than the others. And the first one kind of leads me into talking about my knit along that I am hosting, that I have been kind of appallingly bad at hosting. So if you don't know, or if you're new to this channel, I have been hosting a knit along called the StoryknitsKAL, which I'll leave information about down below, and it began on was it 20th of March, which is it Beltane? And then, which is a pagan festival, follows the wheel of the year, if you do not know, and it's ending on the 20th of June or around then, which is the summer solstice. And yeah, is it Beltane or was it Ostara? I could be getting my festivals completely mixed up. Anyway, it began on the 20th of March and it ends in the 20th to the 22nd of June. I'll leave the exact dates down below. But the theme of the knit along was to knit something inspired by one of your favourite stories. So that could be favourite book, favourite, or any book or any show, any film. And I talk a lot about reading on this channel. It's like I've always loved reading, I've always loved books, I've loved stories for as long as I've been alive. I think maybe it's an only child thing, but I did a lot of reading as a kid, which is what happens maybe when you don't have siblings. But yeah, I love reading and I still love reading now as an adult, although I don't get as much time to do it as I'd love to. And obviously I talk about books on this channel, and I studied English at university, so it was, yeah, something I just really enjoy, and I wanted to kind of combine my loves for stories and knitting together. So I've been an appalling host. I've had seen some lovely projects though from people who are participating, and yeah, this is my first project that I cast on for the knit along. And it is the Norfolk in Paris jumper by Vanessa Pellisa, which is based on a novel called Mariana by Monica Dickens. It's one of my favourite books. I've spoken about it before on this channel. It was published in the World War II, so like the early 40s, 1940s, and it's set in Britain, and it's about a young woman called Mowry, who you just follow her life really from a young child living with her mum to, yeah, her kind of young 20s, or early 20s I should say. So this is the jumper, and yeah, Vanessa Pellisa designed this jumper with Mariana as her inspiration, which when I found that out I was like, this is amazing. It's definitely not an unknown book, but it had been out of print for years and was republished by Persephone Books, who Vanessa Pellisa also loves. I love her designs, I think, and she also bases a lot of her kind of designs on books and stories, which I love. And yeah, she's got some lovely patterns coming out soon that are inspired by Persephone. But yeah, this is the jumper. It is a colourwork yoke jumper, and then it's just a very simple stockinette body and sleeves, and this is the yoke. So originally this is knit out of woolen twine merino sport, which is a base that I'm not sure I've seen you'll use recently. So she is also based in Germany, and with Brexit it's just too much really for me to buy from her at the moment, unfortunately. I'd love to support her, but the customs fees are, yeah, they're a lot, and she has a minimum order, which is completely understandable. So anyway, I wasn't able to use her base, so I am using the Rerum Natura's Ulysse, which is a really nice merino non-superwash yarn. They're a pretty ethical company. They've got quite a few ethical kind of qualifications and awards, certifications. That was the word I was looking for, ethical certifications. And yeah, I think it's a blend of French and Portuguese merino, so it's all from Europe, which I really like. I think it's fairly local. And yeah, it's a really lovely yarn. I have used it in quite a few projects. Yeah, mostly hats. I've never knit a garment out of it, but I am really enjoying it. And so the colours will be listed down below, but my main colour is Poivre itself, which is this colour. It's kind of like a light brown oatmeal-y colour. So as you can see, I have done the yoke and I have nearly finished one sleeve, and then I've done about 5 inches on the body maybe. So I have just got to finish the body and then do the other sleeve and I will be done. I'm really enjoying this. I kind of take a bit of a pause from it just because sometimes I get a bit fed up of just doing plain stockinette. And also the kind of main modification I made was to not do any sleeve shaping. So I originally split for the sleeves, did a little bit of body, and then picked up for my first sleeve because I wanted to do my sleeves first. So I hadn't really done that before, and I thought that would be a nice order and it'd be good to try something new. And I just followed the pattern and did the sleeve decreases that Vanessa includes in the pattern. But for me, they were just too tight and not really like something I was comfortable with. So that meant, and I'd nearly finished one sleeve at that point, and I just was like, oh, I'm gonna have to rip it back. So I just did it, I just ripped it back, and it was fine, and I just knit the sleeve straight, so I didn't do any decreases, because I just like that. I like quite a straight sleeve, and that's what suited me. So yesterday I finished the majority of the sleeve. There is this little colourwork detail here, and then you do a purl row, and then you start doing the ribbing for the cuff. But I need some small circulars in the correct needle size for the ribbing, which I don't have at the moment, so I ordered some last night. So this sleeve is just on hold until those arrive, which will hopefully be later this week. And then I can finish the first sleeve, and then what I'll probably do is I will just finish the body, because that's what I've been working on last night and a little bit today. I am also probably going to not knit as long as Vanessa writes in the pattern, just because I like a cropped jumper. Obviously my Soiree is like a longer jumper, but I mainly wear like cropped jumpers, or I like, if I've got something long, I like to kind of tuck it in. I don't like things super long on me, so I think for this especially I would prefer it to be shorter. So I am gonna crop it a little bit. And I measured my Felix jumper earlier, which is just like probably a good length for me to base this on. And I'd say I'm about halfway done with the body. So before doing the ribbing, which is good. So yeah, what else do I have to say? Oh, I'm knitting a size 2, which is, according to my measurements and the ease that Vanessa recommends, I should be knitting a size 3. A size 2 gives me a circumference of 112 centimeters, which is only about 7 or 8 centimeters of positive ease for me. But I wanted something that was a bit tighter fitting. I like my ideal kind of amount of ease is 10 centimeters on jumpers like this. So that's like kind of the style I wanted. So I thought I'd knit a size down, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. Obviously, when it's on cables, I just don't think you can try it on, but with the sleeves not finished, it's kind of difficult to see how it will sit. I find rounded yokes on my body don't always fit amazingly well. I prefer like a raglan or a drop sleeve construction, but I just had to make an exception for this pattern because it's so lovely. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to having the finished object. I think it'll be really like warm and practical. That's kind of what I want out of this, is something that's like looks really nice but it is very practical, and I can get a little bit like, I don't have to be too, it's not going to be super smart. Like I probably won't be wearing it to like any like important meetings or anything at work, but it will just be like really lovely and cozy and good for like going outside in. So yeah, that is the first project I have my knit along. I'm probably not going to finish it in time, to be honest. I always kind of knew I wouldn't. I'm a bit of a slower knitter. But I am hoping that I will have my other project finished, which is the Elven Wood socks by This Handmade Life. I have spoken about them before, and I have finished the first sock. I'm not sure if I must have cast these on in the last video. But I don't think I'd gotten very far, and I'm just, again, these are lace socks, so they kind of need to be on blockers for you to see what the pattern looks like. So this is the first sock. It's got this like lace all up on the leg, and then you just do, oh, it's blowing out a bit, the light is very odd today. You do just a normal slip stitch heel, gusset, and then you repeat the lace again just before the toe. And yeah, I don't often knit like lace socks like this, but I have enjoyed them. And I think obviously once I've blocked them, the lace will really stretch out and open up and you'll be able to see it better. So this, as I said, is my other kind of project with a StoryknitsKAL, and this pattern was inspired by The Lord of the Rings, both the books and the films, I believe. And I love The Lord of the Rings. I've spoken about this before, but I like grew up watching the films. So I was excited to knit this pattern, and yeah, I just really like them. I love this colour. This yarn is it's a Stitch Up is the company, and the base is Favourite Stock in the colourway Monstera. It's an 100% superwash merino yarn, which, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I don't usually knit with superwash, but I just thought I was really struggling to find a colour that I liked for these socks, and I thought this was kind of perfect. This like really beautiful like dark green, and there is some like subtle variation in there which I like. There's no nylon in these, so yeah, that's a bit different, and they just feel nice and soft. So yeah, not like my favourite base, but I think a lot of people would really like this. It's just me, I prefer like more of a rustic wool for my socks. I think they're a bit warmer and I kind of prefer the feel of it, but I do like this. I think the shop has some beautiful colourways, so I'd recommend checking them out. Obviously it's an indie dyer, which I think is always great to support. And yeah, so I have finished the first sock. As you can tell, I've knit it, well, you might not be able to, but I have knit it slightly shorter, just because I know that superwash can grow over time. Superwash yarn can grow. So I thought I would knit them a little bit shorter. They still fit fine now, pre-blocking, but if anything, I thought I would rather knit them a little bit shorter than a little bit too long. So I've knit the first sock and I have started the second. As you can see, I have done not very much, but this is the first full repeat. Oh, you won't be able to see this, the yarn is a bit too dark. And yeah, I hopefully will finish the lace portion of the leg, and then I can move on to just doing the foot, which is quite speedy because it's just plain stockinette until you've got that last little lace section before the toe. So yeah, this is the yarn wound up. Yeah, it's just really lovely, really like beautiful. It's very like, because it's that superwash merino, it's quite shiny, which I think looks really nice. And yeah, it's just very soft and quite like silky feeling as a yarn base. I'm enjoying the pattern. I don't know how I feel about full lace socks. It's just a bit too much for me to kind of concentrate on for socks. I just feel like it's like, I'm very much like a utility sock knitter, and I enjoy trying new things and like trying new patterns, but I think it's just a bit too much for me to concentrate on. I'd rather just be knitting something a bit simpler, but I'm enjoying the but I'm enjoying the project, and I definitely recommend the pattern. I just also don't love how lace like work socks look on me. I'd prefer something with like texture or cables. That's just the look I prefer. But yeah, I think this Handmade Life has some really lovely sock patterns, so I would really recommend checking them out. So my next work in progress is another sweater slash cardigan slash jumper project, and it is my Bonnie cardigan by Orlan Souche, or Tete Bêche Knitwear, I believe is her name on Ravelry, and this is what I have got so far. So this yarn was a lovely gift from my mum for my birthday, and yeah, you can't really see much, but yeah, this is the progress I've made. So I'll just quickly talk about the yarn first. So this is Studio Donegal Soft Donegal. It's on 100% merino. yarn, and it's got these beautiful tweedy flecks in it. It is spun in Donegal, County Donegal in the Republic of Ireland, and it is but I don't think the merino is Irish, or yeah, I'm not sure where they sourced that merino from, but it is spun in Ireland. And yeah, I've never tried any of their Studio Donegal's yarn, but I have heard a lot about it and about their different bases. I know Albina McLaughlin uses a lot of their yarns, and I love her as a designer. I've seen Jonathan from Jonathan Stays use Darnie by them. So yeah, it's a really beautiful, very soft yarn, but it still has this kind of like rustic appearance with all these beautiful tweedy flecks. And I was really inspired by Bronte Swanwick, I believe. Her Bronnie cardigan she knit in this exact same yarn, so I basically just copied her. She's a really cool knitwear designer and knitter. If you don't know her, I would highly recommend following her on Instagram. I'll link her down below. And I really like what she knits. I think her style is really cool. So I copied her, which, yeah, it's not very original, but I just thought hers was so lovely that I wanted one too. So yeah, this is what I have got so far. You can kind of see how like the tweediness of the yarn is working up. So the Bonnie cardigan is a raglan cardigan knit flat with, yeah, this Aran weight wool. The Studio Donegal is 190 meters per 100 grams. And yeah, I have done the raglan and I have just separated for the body. This has taken a bit of a pause, to be honest, because I really want to finish my Norfolk in Paris jumper. And also, to be honest, I don't know why I cast on an Aran weight cardigan in May, which I think is when I cast this on, just like as a summer project, because it's not a summer project at all. But to be honest, I would wear this probably all year round. Maybe not in like July and August, but to be honest, it never gets that warm here anyway. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I love this colour. I know it's brown, but I just think it's very practical and it goes with a lot of my wardrobe. And yeah, I just really like the style of this yarn. So yeah, I've just got to knit the body and the sleeves, and then you pick up for the collar, and you knit the button band as well. So I'll include a photo of the original if I haven't already. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to returning to this once my Norfolk in Paris is finished or a bit further along. Obviously this is working up fairly quickly because of the weight of yarn, and it's knit on 5mm needles, so it's a bit chunkier. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. I just think this yarn, it's not really showing right very well, but I'm just really enjoying watching like the kind of fabric take shape. So that is my bonnet. I'm really looking forward to working on it a bit more, as I said, later in the year. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about it. I'm knitting the size 5, which I think gives me around the recommended amount of ease. I was kind of between the 4 and the 5, so I thought I'd go for the 5 because I like my cardigans a bit oversized. I don't like them too tight fitting. And it's my first cardigan, which is really exciting. It's obviously knit flat, but I don't mind that, especially when it's a chunkier yarn. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to getting back and working on it once I finished my Norfolk in Paris, because to be honest, 2 jumper projects is a bit too much for me to be working on. I prefer to just be like knitting on one big project and then a few smaller projects. So I'm really looking to like kind of clear my needles and feel like I can refresh and cast on some new things. So my next project is one I hinted at earlier, and it is some socks for my boyfriend. And I have actually finished one of them. I finished one last night, And the pattern I am using is Emily's Favourite Socks from the Knits About Winter book, which I mentioned earlier. And it's just a very basic 3x1 ribbed sock in about 5 different sizes, which is what I like about it. And I also already had the pattern. And yeah, I have finished one sock. I would put these on my sock blockers, but to be honest, they're just a bit too big. So I'm knitting the size 4 because my boyfriend's got quite a bit bigger feet than me, and he's also obviously got longer feet than me as well, and I cast these on just so that I had a really easy transportable knitting project. We did a bit of traveling and we've just had we've got a very busy month in June and May, and even July we've got a busy summer. We're doing like things most weekends, we're either like away or doing things like seeing people. So I wanted something that was like simple and very easy to transport. So I cast these on before we went to Copenhagen, not this past weekend, the weekend before, which I will talk about a bit later in the video, so that I would have some nice plain knitting and some knitting to do if we had any time when I was out there, which we didn't, but really, because we were busy exploring Copenhagen. But it was nice to have like something if I ever wanted to work on anything in the evenings. So yeah, I started off by, there's quite a few different variations in the pattern. So I just started off doing a 1x1 cuff, and then this is a 3x1 rib. I just did a normal slip stitch heel in a contrast yarn, did the gusset decreases, and then I did, one of the variations is to do this like snug arch, which is basically just 1x1 ribbing. And I just thought I'd try it because I want, so I'm using a Regia, like merino yak sock yarn with a bit of nylon in it, and I only have 100 grams, and for my boyfriend's size I would have needed, I think, 120ish or 100, and like I'd have needed more than that. So that is why I have used this dark blue yarn to do the heel, this like snug arch ribbing on the foot and then the toe, just because I thought, one, it's like nice because it breaks things up for me and it makes it a bit more engaging, but also I knew I wasn't going to have enough yarn, and I thought this navy would work well with the green. So this yarn it's also got some nylon in it. It's superwash. My boyfriend, I don't know if he'd wear some rustic wool socks. Potentially not, we'll see. I actually originally bought this for him like last year because he can actually knit and he was interested in learning how to knit socks, but he can't purl, he can only knit, and he was not interested in learning at that time to purl. So I was like, okay, I'll do the ribbing and then you can just knit the leg and we'll just figure it out as we go along. And he did not get very far, bless him. I think he was like, oh, I'd rather be doing other things. And I was like, if you're not going to knit them, like, I'll happily knit some for you. I knit him some socks for his birthday last year using this navy yarn, which I've spoken about in the podcast. And I have a lot of hand knit socks, and you know, I like knitting socks for my family. It's like, and like, you know, friends, it's like something I really enjoy doing, especially when they're very basic. And I always like having socks on my needles for like traveling, or like if I'm going around to friends or whatever. Like, they're just such a nice project for me to have on my needles. So yeah, this pair is for him. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to say about them, but yeah, I finished them last night, and this is really cool. I want to try doing this like snug arch thing for myself in my next pair of like basic socks, because I think it just sounds like it'd be and feels like it'd be really comfortable. So yeah, this is the Regia sock yarn, which I got from No Frills Knitting back before she had her like physical shop, when she was just online, but she still stocks it. You can find it on her website. And I really like it. It's really soft. My boyfriend is not super, he doesn't really like scratchy wools, they like really irritate his skin. So it was important to have something like really soft and also like nylon and superwash so that he could put it in the washing machine and just, you know, be very durable. But yeah, I really like working with this, and I think I would use it, I think maybe because it's got the yak in it. It's just, yeah, like really nice. I would definitely knit a pair of socks for myself out of this, and again, I don't usually use superwash and nylon sock yarns, so that is high praise from me. And it's also really affordable, and it comes in some nice colours as well. And then this navy yarn is leftovers from his socks I knit him for his birthday, and it is the John Arbon Exmoor sock yarn, which is a blend of maybe BFL. It's got a few different breeds in it. It's maybe like, it's, yeah, a load of different sheep's breeds in it. But they're all from like Devon in the southwest. And then it does have a bit of nylon in it as well, and it's also superwash, but it feels a lot more rustic. I really like this sock yarn. It feels nice and woolly, but it is also got that nylon, and it's superwash treated, so it's a bit more practical for other people. So yeah, I would really recommend using it. I've used it for gifts. It's held up really well on my boyfriend's socks. And I've also bought some recently to knit a pair of socks for my dad with, because bless him, I haven't knitted him anything yet since I started kind of like relearning to knit, and yeah, I feel bad that I haven't made him anything, so I'm going to make him some socks for his birthday, which I can say because he doesn't watch this. Yeah, and this is the colourway Whortleberries. It's this lovely like dark blue. So yeah, I have knit the first one, and I'm going to start the second one probably tonight, and it'll be good. We're travelling again this weekend, going down to see my boyfriend's family. It's his nephew's birthday, he is 2, so I'm super excited for that and to see his family. So yeah, it'll be nice to have some really simple knitting for the train journey and like while we're there. And yeah, it'll just, I'm so excited to see his nephew. He's 2 and he's just so adorable. He's so cute. I'll probably be a bit biased, but yeah, I can't wait to see him and like everyone else. So yeah, that is all my knitting works in progress, which didn't take as long as I thought it would. So I'm quickly going to talk about my knitting kind of acquisitions and kind of what we got up to when we went to Copenhagen last weekend. And then I'm going to talk a bit about sewing and books at the end. So let's move my work basket, which is this massive thing that I've shown before that I got on Facebook Marketplace. I keep all my ongoing projects in it. It's just quite handy to have somewhere to dump everything. Handy. So let's talk a little bit about what we did. So we went to Copenhagen just for 3 nights. We were there for 4 days. We flew out on the Friday morning, and was slightly delayed, as most flights have been in the UK recently. And then we flew back on Monday afternoon. So we weren't there for very long. It was just like a long weekend. It's the first time I'd been abroad since COVID. Kind of the COVID pandemic began in March 2020. And it's the first time I'd been on a plane for about 2 years. So yeah, it was just so nice to go abroad again. I have been on holiday within the UK a few times, like between lockdowns and like obviously this year with everything relaxing in the UK, but it was just so, yeah, really, really lovely to go abroad and go. I'd never been to Denmark before. And yeah, it was just so nice. We basically ate pastries, ate loads of really nice food and walked around a lot. What did we do? We did quite a few of like the touristy things. We walked up quite a few towers and like looked over to Copenhagen. That was lovely. Yeah, we did some shopping. We just mostly ate food and walked, but it was so nice. yeah, just such a lovely city. It was great to cycle around. Yeah, I'd never been to Scandinavia before, so I hadn't been to like any of that kind of area of the world, and I would love to go back. My dad's partner is actually half Danish. Her family are not from Copenhagen. They're from maybe, yeah, so definitely not even around the same area as Copenhagen, like quite a way away. So yeah, it was really nice to speak to her about like Copenhagen and like what to do. And my dad had been before, so that was nice. Can get some recommendations. But yeah, it's just such a lovely city. If you ever get the chance, I'd really recommend going. It's very, I just loved it. I loved the vibe. It was, yeah, really friendly. Yeah, just lovely, and like beautiful architecture, which my boyfriend loved. Really interesting history, and yeah, just the food was amazing. So we ate a lot of pastries, and like, yeah, I went to a few different like places that we'd been recommended, and thank you to Jonathan from Jonathan's Days. He went last year, I think, with his partner, and I basically messaged him and was like, can you tell me all the best places for coffee, and like any recommendations, because he also loves coffee as much as my boyfriend does, and my boyfriend is very into his coffee, so, and I am as well, but to a slightly lesser extent. So we went to quite a few coffee shops. Yeah, just had some really good food. We had some amazing Mexican food on our first night. And we went to this amazing bakery called Gino the Bakery, which is out in Oosterberg, which is a complete, like, my Danish is not good. I did try and speak a bit of Danish whilst I was there, but to be honest, my pronunciation is so awful. But I tried. And yeah, I just loved it. It is more expensive than the UK and maybe some of the other European countries I've been to. So like, yeah, bear that in mind. But we had a really nice Airbnb that was not too expensive. I think just the cost of everything has gone up post-COVID, to be honest. And obviously in the UK we're facing a massive cost of living crisis. So yeah, it just was more expensive, but it was, yeah, we just had a really lovely time. And of course, we went to some wool shops. So on the Saturday, we'd actually planned to do a few like wool shops, or two wool shops, because I didn't want to drag my boyfriend around loads of shops while we were there. But when we weren't there for very long. But they actually, I don't know if it's a lot of shops, but the both wool shops I wanted to go to closed at 3 on the Saturday. So yeah, we actually had to wait till the Monday to go, but that was fine. And we went to one called Oldstedt. I'll leave them down below. And then we went to another one called, I've got the tote bag somewhere, but Sommerflugen, which is bigger, and it's like probably one of the bigger yarn shops in Copenhagen, and it's more in the centre, whereas the Oldstedt was closer to where we were staying. I'm really sorry to all my Danish speaking watchers and viewers, and also my dad's partner, who, she doesn't watch this, but she would be mortified to hear my Danish pronunciation. So yeah, we went to those two shops, and in the first shop I knew what I wanted before we went out. I kind of did a bit of research, and I was like, I want to get this yarn that I know is only available in Denmark and maybe some other countries, but it's definitely not available in the UK, and it is the Helholtz Spindrift Handverksjern. I'm so sorry, I should have looked this up before filming. And this is yeah, a Danish brand. I think they have a mill in Denmark, correct me if I'm wrong. And I think it is a mix of Gotland and Falkland Merino, and it is 200 meters per 100 grams, which kind of gives you 17 stitches to 21 rows on a like 4 to 5 millimeter needle. And this colour is 082109, I think. Although maybe that's the, I'll leave the name down below. It's like dark navy, I think it's called on the website. And I got a sweater's quantity worth. So here's 3, which was 7 skeins of this. I think the project I'm going to use it for only uses 6, but because you can't get this in the UK, I wanted to kind of err on the side of caution. And yeah, it's just this really beautiful navy colour. I don't often wear blue, but I was just really inspired by watching like Jonathan from Jonathan's Days, who I've spoken about a lot, and also obviously Nicole from The Gentle Knitter. And I have a really nice navy jumper at home that I had when I was younger, and it's an 100% lambswool jumper. It's like cabled. It's a bit small for me now, but I really like the colour. I just think it's very like classic. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try something a bit different. I think it'll be very practical, because I am a bit of a messy human, and darker colours are just more practical for me. And yeah, I just think this is really lovely. It's definitely not super soft, but I don't think it's as itchy as say like Let Lopey. But it is definitely more rustic. So yeah, I bought this with the intention of making sweater number 18 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, massively inspired by Rebecca from the Career Bear podcast. So I just need to buy the mohair. I'm going to get some from Knitting for Olive because it's my favourite, probably a bit later this year. And yeah, I'm going to knit that, and I think it will be so lovely. I was kind of also thinking about knitting the Drop sweater by Albina McLaughlin, but I think I might knit that in a different colour, but I'm definitely that is in my queue to knit. I just really love the texture, and this is the recommended yarn for the sweater number 18. The one thing I will say is that the size inclusivity is not good on that pattern or any of My Favourite Things Knitwear's designs, which is not something I usually do. So yeah, that's on my behalf. It's still something I'm planning on knitting because I think the design is really unique, but yeah, it's something just to be wary of. The sizing is really not very good. I think I will be knitting the second largest size, which is not good. But yeah, that is my plan for this yarn. So the second lot of yarn that I bought is something that you can actually get in the UK, unlike the Helholtz. But it is actually worked out with the exchange rate to be cheaper, only by about £1 or £2, but I thought that was worth it. And I kind of budgeted a certain amount for yarn, and so I had a bit of money, and so I got this in the first yarn shop we went to, Ulstedt, and then we went to Sommerflugen, I think. I'll leave everything down below. And they had a lot of yarns. They had this one, they had some other like Danish and like Scandinavian brands. They had lots of Knitting for Olive, and I just thought, I knew that this was something I want to get. So this is the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and yeah, I mostly bought it just because it was a bit cheaper with the exchange rate. And this is 100% burette silk, and the colourway Olive. It's not really coming up, that's more of an accurate colour representation. It's this like kind of dark goldeny green colour. It's lovely, it's very shiny, obviously being pure silk. And burette silk is a silk which uses a slightly different production method, as far as my understanding goes. So basically in traditional methods, but I believe so silk is made from butterflies. It's made from the chrysalis that butterflies and moths kind of go from caterpillars to being butterflies or moths, and they sleep in this like chrysalis, and the way that they extract the silk is that often the animals are burnt alive, I believe. Again, I'm not a full expert on this, so I do use silk occasionally, but it's something I usually try to avoid, just personally. But they actually allow the moths and butterflies to kind of leave the chrysalis before they then use the chrysalis to use silk. So it doesn't involve any kind of harm to the animals when they're developing. So again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert, so that could be wrong, but that is my understanding of like burette silk and how it is different to traditionally produced silk. And Knitting for Olive are pretty good with their ethical standards. It's why I like their Mohair. It's why I really like them as a brand. They're pretty like transparent, and yeah, they're a bit more expensive, but for me it's worth it to buy a bit less and buy from them because I really like their ethics. Anyway, so I bought this to make the camisole number 4 from My Favourite Things Knitwear. Again, the size range is appalling. I think I would be knitting the 3rd largest size. I think the maximum is like 115 centimetre bust, which is awful. But that's what I'm doing. I'm going to knit one. I think in the future I will be trying to find some more knitting patterns that have a better size range. I know Petite Knit, obviously most of her modern patterns are better, and there is also a designer called Kadri, and they have some lovely camisole patterns that are a lot more inclusive. But I love the design of this camisole, so kind of as a not as a one-off, but I'm going to be knitting 2 of their patterns. But usually, as I try to make clear on this channel, I try to support more size inclusive patterns because it's important to me. Obviously I'm not perfect, and yeah, I'm going to be using 2 of these patterns. That's just something I'm going to be doing. But so I bought 3 skeins of this. I've already swatched for it and I got gauge, which is perfect. And I think I'm just going to wait till I've made a bit of progress on my other projects before casting on a top. To be honest, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, I haven't found a lot of summer knitting patterns that I like. They're just, Knitting for Olive has some, but it's a lot of camisoles, which I like and I definitely would wear, but I try to wear things that I prefer things that cover a bit of my arms and like my chest, and it's just like kind of what I prefer to wear. So yeah, I haven't found a lot of summer knitting patterns that I like, and I know quite a lot of people have spoken about this. But yeah, I would after knitting this camisole, I would really like to knit one of the Kadri ones, or maybe something by Petite Knit. Just something really simple. I just find a lot of summer patterns are just really not my style, and it's such a shame because I really want to knit with more like cottons and different like fibres. I really want to. We went to Self-Made, which used to be called Stoff and Still. We just randomly walked past one on our first day. I think it's a German company, and I've ordered from them quite a bit, and they have a yarn line. And there was a yarn in there that was like a cotton and viscose mix. I know like Sandnes Garn have some. So there's lots of like summer yarns I'd like to try, but not a lot of patterns. But yeah, so I'm going to knit the camisole number 4. Camisole number 4 by My Favourite Things Knitwear with this. And yeah, I have also got yarn that I originally was using for something else, to knit the Harvest Tee by Ozetta, which is a lovely, really simple like t-shirt pattern. So yeah, we'll see how I get on. But yeah, this is the other yarn I bought, and both like the people that were working in both of those yarn shops in Copenhagen were so lovely. They were so friendly, like so helpful. It was just lovely to like go in and look at all the different yarns that they stocked. There was a lot of Isaia, yeah, loads of different brands. And yeah, it was just really interesting to go into a yarn shop in a different country, and yeah, didn't spend too long in there, although my boyfriend probably disagrees. But he's a good egg and he doesn't mind. We did go in the Lego shop afterwards, which I think made up for it. And then the other kind of thing that I wanted to talk about was there is a shop that I don't know if it originated in Denmark, but they actually I think have a store in the UK, and it's called StoryknitsKAL, and it's a kind of similar to Flying Tiger, which is a Danish shop, which we have in the UK, and they have them like I think all over, at least in Europe. It's like a homeware shop, lots of like different things, quite a random assortment of stuff sometimes, but it's like homewares, food, like craft supplies, and StoryknitsKAL is very similar to that, but it's got a slightly like different aesthetic. I'd say it's like maybe a bit more like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very like, I was like, oh, I love everything in this shop. And they had a craft section, so they have their own brand of yarn. There was nothing in either of the shops. We went in two of them, and there was like, the yarn wasn't anything that I wanted, but they had like loads of different hobby like craft supplies. Like, it was amazing. And they sold fat quarters of fabric, and they were really reasonably priced. So they were 21 Danish kroner, which works out as 2.96 in pound sterling and 2.98 in euros. So yeah, really like very reasonably priced fabric, and it's 100% cotton, like just quilting cotton. So I picked up 4 little fat quarters, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I thought I might make some like patchwork things, yeah, like lavender bags maybe, or like a cushion. I just thought they were really nice, and I really like the colours. So I got this one, which is this darker green, and then this one, which is lighter with like these white flowers on, and then I got this like beautiful almost batik block print style cotton, which is red, and then this white one with pink flowers. And yeah, it was just I thought these were like went quite well together. They're like my colour palette, and I just thought they were beautiful fabrics, and I wish we had one in Bristol or like somewhere a bit closer. I think the one in the UK is in Manchester, because I have heard Lizzie from Hive Knits talk about it. But yeah, I didn't buy just this. I bought some other stuff as well. I bought some tea, I bought some like, yeah, a few different little bits. My boyfriend brought some stuff there. We just loved it. We were having a great time. But it's a big shop, and it's one of these shops like Tiger where you're walking around and there is only kind of one way, and it's like kind of like a bit like a maze. It's quite, yeah, it's a very interesting shop, but I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of a shop that me and one of my best friends went in Belgium called Deal and Camille, which I have only ever seen in Belgium, in Brussels when we went in 2019. It was kind of similar to that vibe, which is another lovely European homeware shop that's really reasonably priced. So yeah, that is like kind of like my little Copenhagen section. And now I'm just very quickly going to talk about books and like what I've been reading, and also my sewing. So we'll start off with the sewing. I don't know if I'm going to carry on doing these sewing segments. Let me know what you think. Do you enjoy them? Would you rather I talk about sewing in like separate videos and maybe do them less regularly? I find yeah, I don't know if people enjoy this, so let me know in the comments if you want me to carry on talking about my sewing. It's definitely something I do a lot of, especially in the summer. But yeah, if it's something you don't want to listen to, then, or like you do, or you'd want it in a separate video, like, or if you'd rather I just talked about it on Instagram, let me know. So I haven't got everything that I've been sewing, but thought I would just quickly mention a few projects. So in my last episode, I spoke about my Claudia dress by Tessuti Fabrics, and I have since finished it and worn it a lot. I wasn't actually sure if I'd wear it that much because of the fit issues that I kind of roughly fixed. I'll include a full length photo somewhere. But yeah, I've worn it so much. And it is made out of this lovely Joseph gingham from Merchant & Mills. It's 100% linen fabric. I love Merchant & Mills, as we all know. And yeah, this is just a really lovely like high neck strap dress. I wear it with like a t-shirt underneath. It's really nice with my Soiree sweater. And it's just really comfortable. And I worn it like cycling, but I put like some short bike shorts underneath. Yeah, I've just enjoyed wearing it a lot, and yeah, I really like this pattern. I think I'll definitely make another one, but I will do a full bust adjustment, which is what I should have done on this one. The size range I've spoken about before is not good on this. I made the biggest size, but I think it's Style Arc have a similar. You could definitely do something similar with like the Reynolds dress from Helen's Closet. There's a few patterns that I'll link below that are similar to this. So that's sewing project number one. The second sewing project I have is a estuary skirt by Sew Liberated in this beautiful dark green linen that was a gift from my boyfriend for my birthday, from Ray Stitch, which is a fabric shop in London that has a really nice selection of their own linens. Slightly more affordable than Merchant & Mills. I think they come in at around under £20 a metre, which when you're buying like more than a metre is obviously like you do save a bit of money compared to Merchant & Mills. The quality of it is really nice. I've used it before to make some napkins for my dad as a gift. And yeah, again, I'll put a photo of me wearing this in so you can see. But it's just like a long button down skirt. It's got a waistband and then it is elasticated at the back. So it's super comfy. I have made this pattern before for my mum. I made one last summer in Merchant & Mills cotton. And I think she wears it quite a bit. She kind of like requested that I make one for her, which I was very happy to do. I love making her clothes. So yeah, and I wanted one for myself. I just haven't worn this. I think it's getting the styling of it right. I wear trousers a lot because I cycle pretty much everywhere. And it's just more practical. Like, I just prefer wearing trousers. I find them more easy. Like, if I'm not wearing a dress, I'm wearing trousers and like a top. So yeah, I just don't wear a lot of skirts. But this is really nice, and I think maybe I'll wear it more in the winter. It's like a darker colour. I think it will go well with like my boots and like jumpers. But yeah, I just don't really know what to style it with top wise. So I haven't worn it yet, which is a shame because I really like the finished project. And sometimes I just feel like my style kind of shifts. And yeah, like I don't know, like sometimes I just feel like I'm wearing like a certain style of thing more than other styles, and yeah, I still don't feel like my style is very consistent, but I'm looking forward to wearing this a lot later in the year. And the final kind of finished sewing project I have got is my quilted Havia jacket. Finally, this is a pattern by Megan Nielsen, and this is a quilted jacket. Again, I'll insert a photo, but it's a cropped quilted jacket with long sleeves and pockets. If you've watched this channel before, you will know that I bought this quilt secondhand. It's like a factory commercially made quilt. It's not a handmade quilt, if you can even call it. It's more like a bed topper, I suppose. And there were 2 single ones, and I cut them up to make this jacket because I love the fabric. I think it's a bit like Marmite. Not everyone is going to love it, but I just think it's lovely. It kind of reminds me of like my grandma's sofa, that she had a sofa with fabric that was similar to this, and I love it. It's got these like pockets here. I just didn't line it because it's just plain white on the inside, and it is bound with homemade bias binding made from the same fabric. So the quilts were just a quilt top, and then they had this like frill around the side, which was just like plain matching fabric, and I used that to make the bias binding and also the ties on the jacket. So I was thinking about doing a different colour, but I just thought it would blend really well to use the same fabric for the binding, seeing as I had it. So yeah, I made all of that myself. Again, it's been a bit too warm to wear this, so I haven't worn it out yet, but I am so excited to wear it. It's going to be so cozy, going to be so comfortable, and yeah, I just can't wait to get some use out of it later on in the year. So the last thing that I have to speak about is something that I'm currently working on sewing wise, and it is a top, and it is a hack of the Hinterland dress, again by So Liberated, and it is this top. So the Hinterland dress is a kind of smock style dress. It's super comfy. Again, I have made one for my mum, but this is like my first time using the pattern for myself. It's just a very simple button up. You can basically use the bodice from the dress and hack it into like a crop top, which is what I decided to do because I bought this fabric second hand from a vintage shop in Bristol, and it was 2 meters. It was really reasonable. It's 100% cotton. It's originally Laura Ashley cotton, and I bought it in a vintage shop for like £15 or £10 for 2 meters, which is, I think, a bargain. It might have even been cheaper than that. It might have, yeah, under £10 maybe. It was really not very expensive. And it's this really lovely like printed cotton. It's almost like a toile de joie pattern, but like with cream and red, which is like, I guess, less traditional. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's so nice, and I didn't know what to make out of it because the width of it was about 105 centimeters, 110, and that's just not enough to make like a lot of the tops that I like, the top patterns that I like. But I realised I could make a cropped hinterland top, so that is what I am doing. It's got the 3/4 length sleeves because that's kind of like the length I like, and it's pretty cropped. I will say probably slightly too cropped. Like, it's fine with jeans, but I can't really like raise my arms up. But I will still get a lot of wear out of this. And this is what I kind of made last week. We had some bank holidays in the UK for the Platinum Jubilee, which is like a celebration of the Queen being on the throne for 70 years, I think. And yeah, whatever your feelings are kind of about the monarchy or the Jubilee as a whole, it was nice to have some days off from work. So we had Thursday and Friday off, at least for me, because I work in an office. Yeah, so I made this top on the Thursday. So all I've got left to do is just to do the buttonholes and the buttons. I need to choose some from my like little collection, and this will be finished. It's all hemmed. I did so I think in the pattern it says to cut a facing, but I wanted to like maximize my fabric, so I just used some like pre-made bias tape that I had already to finish the neckline. And yeah, it's just like straight sleeves. Yeah, as I said, pretty cropped, but it's quite boxy. You've got some darts, as you can kind of see here. And yeah, it's just a kind of loose, kind of nice top for the summer, I think, and will go really well with jeans. It'd probably actually really go quite well with this skirt, although the colours are quite, I don't know, I'm not sure about those colours together. It reminds me too much of the Welsh flag, I think. But I think that would go nicely together. Anything high-waisted, basically. And yeah, I really like this pattern. I will definitely be making the dress for myself at some point, because I just think it's really comfy. And yeah, I'm excited to get this finished. I've put a little label in which says size me. These are from Kylie and the Machine. I talk about their labels a lot. And yeah, just a really nice simple top for the summer, and it'll be nice and cool, but because it's got those slightly longer sleeves, it will give me a bit more coverage. So yeah, I was going to talk about what I've been reading in this episode, but to be honest, it has been too long already, and I think it would just be better for you and for me if we talked about books in the next episode when I have less to catch you up on. So yeah, I hope you are having the most lovely week. I hope you're enjoying the starts of summer if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, and you're enjoying your autumn and winter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. I would love to know what you are knitting and sewing and working on at the moment. And yeah, if you have any thoughts about whether you'd like to see sewing in these podcasts or whether you'd prefer me to keep it in separate videos, please let me know down below. And I cannot wait to catch up with you again soon, and it won't be as long next time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Also, if you're entering the StoryknitsKAL, please let me know down below, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!